Hey everyone, hope you're all doing well. Just wanted to comment on this article that I came across here on Investopedia. The article's entitled, Why Are People Hoarding Coins? And it was written by a woman named Angie Moore, who, if you read her bio, it says that she's Canadian, but now lives in the United States with her family. It also provides her Twitter account, so go ahead and check that out if you'd like to see some more of her work. But basically, I want to comment on this article in particular just because I believe it contains a number of misconceptions that are typically held by those who are new to the idea of coin roll hunting. And even though it's easy to get defensive about these types of articles with those misconceptions, overall I think the article is very good, and it's also great to see that more and more people are discussing the topic, and also it's good to see that these articles are out there which have the potential to bring more and more people to the idea of coin roll hunting. But the first misconception that I'd like to talk about is just the idea that coin roll hunters, or coin hoarders as Andrew refers to them as, are actually going about and investing in coins. If we see some of the names of the sections of the articles, such as right here, investor or hoarder, or also down here, is this an unknown lucrative investment? Angie's kind of putting it out there that people who are buying and going through pennies and nickels are actually investing in the coins themselves. Also, at the end of the article, she kind of ends off as the value of metals such as copper and nickel rise, investors are increasingly interested in tucking away vast amounts of pennies and nickels, hoping that their investments pay off someday. And again, really, the idea of coin roll hunting isn't to go about and invest in coins, and to make this point, I'd just like to play a brief section of an interview that Doug Casey did with Lauren Lister. Let's go ahead and watch that now.
And the other thing is we shouldn't refer to gold as an investment. It's an asset. Okay. An investment is theoretically something that produces new wealth. And in the climate of fear that we have in the world today, people don't want to take risks. They want to have an asset that's not simultaneously somebody else's liability, and that means gold.
Right.
All right, so the major takeaway from that little quote there by Doug Casey is his technical definition of what an investment is, and that's basically being something that generates new wealth in the future. And if any coin roll hunter looks at the copper pennies or nickel nickels or even the silver dimes just sitting on their table, you can tell right away that those coins aren't generating any new wealth. The reason why coin roll hunting is an investment is for this reason: the coins themselves don't generate new wealth, but the main reason why you want to collect them is because they're going to keep their wealth relative to the dollar or any of the currencies that are being utilized by many of the countries around the world. In the current monetary and fiscal situation that countries find themselves in these days, these coins are going to keep their inherent value because they are made of copper, nickel, silver, something with tangible wealth behind them. And again, we really shouldn't think of them as investments. We should think of them as something that's going to protect our wealth and then keep their wealth in the current monetary and fiscal situations. The second biggest misconception that is within this article is throughout the article, Angie mentions from time to time that the melt ban needs to be lifted to see any type of return from coin roll hunting, particularly up in this sentence here, she writes, their investments won't pay off unless the government lifts the restriction on melting currency. And this is a big misconception, not just in this article, but with coin roll hunting generally. A lot of people think that you really can't see any profit from the copper within the coins unless you melt them down. And again, what people forget is that there's a lot of inherent wealth generated going into making the coins themselves. They have a guaranteed weight, they have a guaranteed purity, and again, these are all guaranteed by the government themselves. So they have a trustworthy weight, composition, purity, and again, the coins themselves do have a value. And just to show this, I looked up a recently closed auction here on eBay where $200 face value of American copper pennies was recently sold for $310. So again, that's about $1.50 for every penny. Again, about a 50% increase on each coin. And again, the shipping was free, but even still, that's a really good price and really good return on investment. And again, as you see, you don't need to melt the coins down. And in my opinion, what you're doing is you're actually destroying some of the value of the copper penny by melting them down and then having to refashion them in some other type of bullion, either a bar or another coin. You're really just kind of wasting a lot of value in between there. But again, mainly, you don't have to worry about lifting the melt ban in either Canada or the United States. Personally, my brother and I have absolutely no future plans of melting any of these pennies or nickels down. Hopefully a market develops, and again, as we just saw from the eBay auction, a market is developing in selling these copper pennies and nickels. And if you take a look at any auctions with silver dimes, silver quarters, silver half dollars, again, the market's already been generated, and we already see the market within these silver coins. So again, big misconception in this article, and also generally, that the melt ban needs to be lifted in order to see a profit from coin roll hunting. Also, too, just a couple of quick things that the article doesn't take into consideration, or that I feel that it gets wrong. The author mentions that finding coins and sorting them takes a substantial amount of time. She doesn't really define what substantial means, so I don't know, I guess it just depends on what you think is a substantial amount of time. Personally, it takes me about an hour, a little bit over an hour, I'd say an hour 10, hour 15 minutes to go through a box of nickels and then to re-roll all of them again to bring them back to the bank. To me, that's not a lot of time and definitely worth it. But again, I don't feel like it takes that much time to sort through a box of pennies or nickels. Also, too, she mentions that there's a substantial cost to storage, which for me isn't really the case at all. All of my storage is free, and unless you have, tens of thousands of pennies and need to store them and pay for storage somewhere else, then that's not really a concern at all. The other thing that the article doesn't do is take into account silver coins, silver dimes, quarters, or halves, like I mentioned previously. Again, there's huge, returns to be made there if you find a lot of these silver dimes, quarters, or halves. Also, too, doesn't talk about, the benefits of finding wheat pennies, King George VI or 5th pennies, or any of the errors or any other rarities. Again, that should really be taken into consideration as well. And then also, too, finally, it doesn't talk about the monetary policy or the current inflationary fiscal policy and monetary policy that's in place, which really is the crucial aspect to what coin roll hunting is, and really goes back to that first misconception I talked about the investing in coins. And again, the article would have definitely helped readers along if they talked a little bit about the monetary policy that's in place in the United States and Canada. But that said, this article does do a really good job of offering an excellent breakdown of the current metal values of pennies and nickels. Just in this first paragraph here, what's in your change? For anybody who's not really sure that the copper pennies are in fact made out of copper, or the nickels out of nickel, it does a great job of offering the melt value to the readers so that they can see that. She does also make a good point that coin roll hunting is more akin to a hobby than an investment. I tend to agree with that. It's also good that she mentions that there is an opportunity cost to coin roll hunting. Personally, this doesn't really bother me just because I find it as a fun hobby anyway, so the time isn't really an opportunity cost to me. And also, too, my brother and I aren't really putting that much money overall into coin roll hunting. So if we were to keep that in a savings account, then we would generate very little savings just because the interest rate is so low. And also, too, we're students, so we're not really at that point where we have a lot of disposable income anyway, and making long-term plans down the road. Again, too, she says at the very least, it's a fun enterprise. Definitely agree with that. Also, too, in the article, she mentions right here, realcent.org, which is an excellent forum and great resource for anyone out there who's interested in coin roll hunting. I would definitely let everyone know about that website and would suggest that you guys all go take a look at that website there. It's realcent.org. But overall, the article is generally well researched, interesting enough, and is also a really good initial glance at the hobby of coin roll hunting, even though it contains a couple of misconceptions. But we should all just let those slide. So go ahead and take a look at this article. I'll put the link in the description below. Also, too, if you could like, comment, and subscribe, that'd be greatly appreciated. Be on the lookout for more coin roll hunting video results with boxes of pennies and nickels, and hopefully I can get back into a couple of dime boxes here and there in the near future. But that's it for now, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon.